5 years from now, Hartford's Weaver High School, as you might know it, will be but a shadow of itself. There are plans underway to renovate the Granby Street School, the centerpiece of a major North End redevelopment plan that will target many North End Hartford schools. The community is woven into the planning process. The Blue Hills Civic Association has spearheaded the formation of the North Hartford Education Task Force. Janice Fleming is a program developer for the association. Joining her is Lakeisha Houston, who's a Weaver High grad, now studying at the University of Hartford. And Angela Dunham is also a Weaver grad, now in her what year at Dartmouth?
I'm going to enter my third year.
Going to enter. All right, congratulations to both of you. Let's start off with the students giving us your idea of what you envision for Weaver.
Well, I'll start off. I'm actually the Weaver graduate, and what I envision for Weaver is a school system that's really going to prepare students for their collegiate studies, for any studies that they're undertake. I think in going from Weaver High School to Dartmouth's rigorous academic setting, it was a lot of a challenge just because I had to realize, wow, there's a lot that I was catching up on as opposed to something I was prepared with going into school.
Well, are there physical things that would have helped you to do that?
Physical things.
I mean, physical parts of the building that actually would have helped you do that, or is it more programs and services?
I think it's gonna be more programs. It's not necessarily what the building facility is ever going to look like.
Yeah.
It's going to be what we have. I was a member of the track team. We were state champions, and I was very happy to go back to the school and see that they had finally redone the track, so it was in a condition that would not injure us. But I think we were still able to perform as a track team, and I think that's what we need. We still need programs and people that are going to help run the Sutton without regard to what the building facility looks like.
Right. And Lakeisha, I'm sorry, you didn't go to Weaver.
No, I actually graduated from Metropolitan Learning Center.
Oh, okay. And when you talk about, their vision for Weaver High School, what do you think it should encompass?
From outside looking in, I think Weaver needs to be renovated. I think Weaver is a great school. I actually played sports for Weaver my senior year.
Nice.
So I don't really know too much about the teachers and everything, but from outside looking in, I would just like to see Weaver get renovated.
Right. Janice, what sorts of things are you hearing? What sorts of concerns do you hear from the community in terms of what they want it to include or not to include?
Well, yeah, we're hearing different things because in terms of the community, we have engaged business owners, other schools like Achievement First and MLK, and the West Indian newspaper had been heavily involved in the conversation of North Hartford schools, and what they would like to see is a campus that includes sound development from Westbrook and Bowles Park, University of Hartford playing a role in making sure that the curricula is up to par. Weaver now has in the Culinary Academy a wonderful principal who I think will do a tremendous job, Mr. Conway. He just had his graduation earlier this week where the commencement speaker was Governor Malloy. And so that was the first time in a long time I've seen the football field cut down and everyone out there and the kids, so it was wonderful. But what Blue Hills Civic Association wanted to do with this North Hartford Education Task Force, which is being chaired by Andrea Comer, who was a Board of Education member and very active in the community, and also working with Achievement First. What we wanted to do is actually bring all of the key stakeholders together and begin a critical conversation about what it is that we want to see with North Hartford School, but using Weaver as a starting point because the cries were so loud in terms of Weaver. So what we did is we put a body of people together. Lee Hunt, who's the executive director at Blue Hills Civic Association, as I told you, Andrea Comer, State Representative Matt Ritter, State Representative Doug McQuarrie, Senator Coleman, leadership from HPOC, the group, and the Mayor Segarra office is at the table as well, and also engaging Alan Green over at Weaver High School and, as I told you, University of Hartford, and had a conversation and said, look, let's put together something comprehensive that deals with the voice of the people and data collection. And let's have the survey on multi-levels that acts that this committee will act as a feeder up and downward. And what I mean by that is there's a steering committee that has been put in place with Dr. Kishimoto and Adamowski in terms of Weaver and other design projects. And so we actually have Andrea Comer and Lee on that steering committee. So we have like the task force, and then there's these subcommittees underneath with education and policy, alumni, and they feed up to the task force, and then we feed up to the steering committee. So this bottom-up approach. Our first surveys were completed where we had we revealed them at 2 community meetings. One was held at Weaver High School, the other at Parker Memorial, in which 881 surveys were done. And what we were finding was that people want to have the name remain Weaver High School.
Sure.
They're concerned about the curriculum. They would like for the building to be maintained and deal with the infrastructure. And then they wanted to see it built more like a campus. How does the housing fit in that? Where would merchants, how do we look at this as more of a comprehensive economic development plan as opposed to just Weaver as a school, broader as a community?
Right, especially in an urban environment. And Angela, I'm interested, she mentioned a lot of people have concerns about curriculum. I mean, what sorts of things do you think would have helped you or would help students, who want to go to college, who want to go to Dartmouth? What sorts of classes or studies would have helped you?
I think most importantly what we need to work on is just bringing in students that have the experience of being in college and bringing them back to just make sure that they're easing that transition. I think having that understanding how hard, I think going to Dartmouth I really learned what it meant to study for a final test or really take that comprehensive time and sit down and engage the material and master the material, as we call it at Dartmouth a lot. So really learning those techniques as well as just finding ways. I felt a lot of times, and this started really early in elementary school, not just teaching to the test, but teaching beyond the test. So we're engaging the material in a different way. And it's not necessarily something that might be produced outright and quickly, but it's something that's going to give us an overall understanding and better understanding of not only our worlds, but how we relate to it.
Right. And Lakeisha, what do you think when you hear about the possibility of more of a campus, more of a community beyond just, classrooms? Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I know back to what Angela was saying, at Metropolitan Learning Center, our teachers really focused on college prep courses. They really focused on bringing the seniors back to talk about their college experiences, which really helped the students, and they have like about a 98% graduate rate. So most of the seniors go on to further their education. So I would like to see that at Weaver.
For all of you, I guess I could put out this question. I mean, they're saying that this project could cost upwards of $100 million. I mean, certainly any time that's hard to get people to swallow, but during, the economic times that we have right now, we actually have huge budget gaps in not only in the state, but certainly in the city of Hartford. How do you convince people that now's the time to spend $100 million?
Well, I think Alex said it best beforehand. I was watching you and Alex talk, and I think that when it's a question of sound education in our children, we need to figure out the problem. And we're realistic at the task force and at Blue Hills Civic Association, and this is why we're not seeing it as just a school, but trying to engage the Hartford Housing Authority and University of Hartford, because it's going to take the community, in addition to the small business owners, the churches, because, some of this question of resources is not just a fiscal dollar. It's about who in a community is stepping up to the plate to put in where we can. And so, even with both the young ladies we have here today, the reason why I brought one from Weaver and another young lady from a magnet school was intentional, because Blue Hills Civic Association hires through the summertime over 400 youth, and we track our kids through college, after college. And one of the concerns I'm having is that when we have women who are coming from University of Hartford and Dartmouth and there aren't any internships, we need to address that.
Right.
And so,
well, we appreciate you taking the time. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up, but certainly we'll have you back to talk more about your great successes and your great successes as well. Thanks again to Janice Fleming from the Blue Hills Civic Association. Also, continuing good luck to Lakeisha Houston at the University of Hartford and Angela Duncan at Dartmouth. Don't forget now, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.